Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's a big day here at Recoil Therapy. I picked this up on the way home from the Quigley this year. It arrived for me at my gun store on Father's Day. This is a CPA model 44 1/2 Stevens action long range black powder rifle. It's chambered in 45-90, and this rifle has a lot of custom features on it and some pretty unique things about the Stevens action too that I want to show you guys. So come on in here and let's take a look at this rifle and get to know it.
Alright, so it's a single shot rifle and it's an under lever design. Now I picked this lever right here. This is called the ball and spur lever. This is actually just a real lever, but they made a nice wood insert for this for me. It's one of the options you can get on the rifle. And you work the lever like so to open and close the action. Now it has double set triggers. When you open the action on this rifle, it puts the hammer to half cock, meaning that it's half cocked already, whereas with other rifles like the Sharps, you have to, because the hammer's on the side, you physically have to put it on half cock when you open the action, and then preferably you would do that every time. On this rifle then, you just merely pull it to the full cock. This is your set trigger right here. It takes a bit of effort to pull that trigger, and then you have a hair trigger up front. And it takes very little pressure to set it off, and I don't want to dry fire this very many times, but that's basically how it works. It's very, very similar to other rifles that have a dual set trigger like that. Now I had my rifle checkered, and I'm hoping that you can kind of see a lot of the very fine detail on this rifle and the beautiful wood. I had the bottom of the pistol grip checkered too. I really like that. This case hardening right here, this is beautiful color case hardening, and Stevens was known for this type of like a striped pattern. Some people call this tiger striping, whereas color case hardening on other rifles is much more of a mottled or splotchy type of appearance. This is on purpose. Almost the rifles, especially from CPA, they've mastered this finish. They all come looking like that, and this is a feature which is a Stevens trademark basically. And then my forearm here, this is one of the standard ones for the Stevens long range or silhouette type rifles. I've had this checkered too. The barrel is a half round and half octagon barrel, and we're going to take another look at that here real close too, because that's a special barrel. So one of the things that you'll notice about this barrel right off the bat is that it's very highly polished. It's a half round, half octagon. It's actually a little more than half round. The octagon part extends only to the forearm back here. The barrel is drilled and tapped for scope mounts. The front mount is right here. The rear mounts are back here. It's stamped 45-90 right there. I'm kind of hoping you can see that. And up here, it's stamped CPA rifles. That's going to be kind of hard to see because we're very close to this thing and the lighting's kind of bad in here. But I'm going to turn this over and show you some more features of this barrel. So first things first here, you can see a lot of the really incredible wood grain. I'm really happy with the wood on this rifle. This is probably the finest piece of wood I own on a firearm, is this Stevens rifle. Well, two pieces of wood. And I have some nice weapons. I have a Shiloh, I have some Beretta shotguns. This wood equals anything that Berettas, any of the Berettas I have in my safe. Now this is going to be a little fun to see right here because it's upside down. But basically, it's right here is stamped Douglas. That's the barrel maker. It's stamped 15-1 right there. That's the twist rate. The part number 45696R. Is the Douglas part number. The barrel was made on 222-22, so all twos, 22222, and the last stamping is 2091, which is the serial number of my rifle. Now that serial number is also stamped right here, and that is right next to this interesting little screw right here. This is a set screw, and that's because the barrels on these rifles are interchangeable. You can change calibers on these rifles in a few minutes, really, if you have a soft jawed vise. So I want to take a look at that real fast. All right, this little hex head in here is a 5/32 size bit, and I want to back up here just real quick. Don't do this without a soft jawed vise. You have to have a soft jawed vise, because otherwise you risk screwing up a really nice weapon. So we're going to back this screw out, and then I'm going to reset the barrel in the vise, and I'm going to show you how to take it apart. So let's just get this guy out of here. Now, the older Stevens favorite rifles that these are based on, there's our screw right there, had actually just a knurled screw that you could just undo it by hand, but the shanks on those barrels were smooth. This one is threaded into the receiver, and it takes quite a bit of effort to put it on and off. So I'm going to get reset on my vise and bring you right back. Okay, so we've got this barrel mounted up in the vise where it won't slip, right? And this vise is cranked down tight in all directions. I don't want this thing moving at all. The advice I got from Gail Shuttleworth is to chuck it up in a vise like this and then gently bump the lever. And you're going to have to do this to get it apart and also to put it back together, because you'll notice, now this is going to start screwing apart now, you'll notice that when you put it together, the barrel bottoms out, and it can become very, very difficult to put it back together. It doesn't necessarily want to go that whole last little bit, and so you've got to really put some work into it. And again, I can't stress this enough. Use a soft jawed vise and be very careful and go slowly with the rifle. It's very nice, very expensive. Don't mess it up because you get in a hurry. So let's have another look here. Okay, here's another look at our barrel stampings below this is below the forearm when it's on. The maker, Douglas Barrels. It's a 15 twist barrel. The catalog number is 4569GR. It was made apparently on 2-22-22, so all twos, 2-22-22. That's pretty cool. And then the serial number of my rifle is 2091. Okay, so as with our other black powder rifles, I want to know what size this barrel is on the inside, and in particular I want to know what size it is right in front of the chamber. So I've got a 50 cal Hornady lead ball here, actual .495 size, and I'm going to just drop it down in the chamber, and then make sure this is good and tight. I'm going to take an oak dowel and start tapping that lead ball down in there, and it's going to kind of hit a wall when it hits the end of the chamber there. I'm going to keep tapping, and it's going to start to go down into the rifling, and I can feel it moving down in there now. So I'm not going to go much farther. I'm in the rifling, and that was the information I was looking for, right? And tapping from the barrel end like this to get your slug can give you a more accurate result of what your barrel actually needs than tapping from the muzzle end, although we are going to do that end too. So now all I need is my handy wood dowel from Home Desperate, and we're just going to tap it out, and it should come out with a couple of light taps. There it is. So let's measure this bad boy, see what we got. Okay, we got our trusty caliper here, and here's our lead slug, and we're going to just try and find really the biggest dimension around the edge. And you really have to be careful doing this because the tool is very sensitive, and you can screw it up, right? So it's wanting to hold in that spot at about 0.457. I'm a little ham-fisted doing this, but I've got a number of 4569 right there. Let's come back and try a different set of lands. 0.5567, 0.457. Oops, we're in the groove right there. Whoops, there we are again. 0.457. So that's telling me this barrel's 4.457, so I'm going to want to probably go with a 458 sizing die on this. That's going to be my bullet size for this rifle. So let's keep on going. Let's do the front real fast. There we go. We're in there good. Now, same thing again. We're going to tap that plug out with our 3/8 dowel. Whoops. Where'd you go? Oh, it landed right back in the box. Wow, cool. All right, here's our second slug we got from the muzzle end of the rifle. So let's make sure we're measuring the right side. 59, 58, still loose, come on. Oops, am I in a groove? So it's trying to hold at 456 right there. 456 right there. Let's come back a little. Whoop, other way, dummy. 456.4. I'm calling 456 a pretty good measurement of our muzzle end slug. So what that means is that we're probably the ideal size for this thing right now is a 458. Now I guess it still could be a 459, but 1,000th over is the generally accepted rule for cast bullets. So we're going to ride with that right now. And you know, another thing I've learned is that you need to double check your sizing dies, because I've gotten some sizing dies and they have not been as advertised. I've gotten a couple of them like that, so you need to check. Moving on. All right, so we're going to put a little bit of anti-seize on here. Not nearly this much, just some. Work it down into the threads pretty good, and then we are going to take the excess off with a cotton patch. And you can order additional barrels for these rifles chambered in different calibers. So like if the 4590 ever got too much for me, I could get a barrel in 4570, or I could get one in 4477 or 3855, you know, whatever. By changing out the block and the barrel, you can convert this thing into basically any caliber, from a 22 long rifle to a 50 140. So it's kind of the sky's the limit with one of these actions, and that's one of the really cool things about them. It's one of the reasons I decided to get one, because I was waiting so long for a Shiloh. I wanted to have something to shoot. So there, we've got a little bit of anti-seize. Perfect. Now we're going to go ahead and chuck this back up, and we're going to do this to where our octagon part is in the groove of the soft jaw, so that this thing will not rotate, spin, or move in that vise. The last thing we want to do is drop one of these parts. There, get her nice and snug. Now I'm looking at the top of the barrel right here. There's my scope mounts. So we're going to take, and also I want to quickly take and kind of wipe this out. I want to make sure nothing got in there. I don't want anything in this. A little bit of assembly stuff in there. I don't want anything in there in those threads. So now we're going to carefully thread the rifle together. And if we are the least bit wrong, we're not going to force anything. It should go together very, very smooth. There we go. Now we need to drop the lever as we get close, because you can't see this, I should show you this. The extractor fits right in a groove in the bottom of this barrel, and we do not want that extractor to hit it and then not be able to bottom out. So the barrel's going to come around and it's going to stop just a little bit short, and I'm going to try to change the camera angle so you can see this. Alright, when I first got this rifle, I kind of was stumped a little bit because the barrel won't screw all the way on. It's got to be worked on there, and this top flat right here, this angle is almost straight on with the angle on the barrel, and this one here is way wide, so you can tell the receiver's not quite set in position. And what happens then is that this extractor won't fit in that slot right there, so you can't close the action, you can't do anything. You've got to bump this thing into position, and you've got to be very careful doing it. So we're firmly chalked up in the vise to where nothing's going to move, and we're going to turn this thing as much as possible by hand. And we got a little bit of mileage there, so I'm going to gently bump the lever, and that's going to bring the rifle into alignment. Not quite. There we go. See how it opens and closes now? Maybe just one more. And you've got to be very careful bumping this lever too. I would not be hitting this with anything other than an open palm, and very gently at that, because this is putting a lot of torque on the pins and the screws that support this action. So if you just wailed on it, you probably would damage those pins, and you don't want to do that either. As long as we're here, this is a good time to kind of show you how the action cams forward on this. Now, on my Sharps rifles, when I was shooting, I would have to use a tool to cam around into the chamber. Not so on this CPA. This is a dummy round that I've made up, a 45-90 dummy round. And I've got the bullet, as you can see, it's seated out a little bit from the mouth. There's a full grease groove exposed here. So, we got to cock the hammer prior to closing or loading the chamber. You can see we're stopping out right there. Now watch what happens. This block comes forward and it actually cams the round into place. So I can start out, I could really start out as much as this far out from the lands. Like if I had a 45-70, you might be seated out that far, and this block will cam it into the chamber for firing. No tools needed. That's really cool. I really gotta like that. So let's take that dummy out of there, because I don't like being in the habit of inserting things in chambers. And the other thing here is that we clearly indented this thing into the rifling by doing that. There's a mark, there's a mark, there's a mark, there's a mark, all the way around this bullet. That's really good stuff. The bullet is seated into the lands. It's going to shoot this thing. If I do my part, this rifle is going to shoot brilliantly. Alright, next thing's next. We're going to reinstall our forearm back on the rifle. Now this has the screws. Oh, I got the brass escutcheons on this rifle too. I didn't mention that before, but I thought that's a really nice touch. It doesn't cost a lot. In fact, CPA rifles don't really cost a lot as compared to others. This rifle For what it did cost me is a surprisingly good value. I would consider these CPAs to really be exceptional values in the world of black powder target rifles. The cost for a Shiloh these days, pretty much no matter what you do, you're going to pay $4,000 for an entry-level Shiloh. I paid about that for this rifle, and it's far from entry-level. I have a lot of really nice features on here, and I would consider that to be a really, really cool aspect of these, and a good reason to invest your money in one of them. You're getting a lot of bang for the buck here. Now, the last thing I have to do with mounting up that barrel is to put this set screw back in. And I'm going to put it in here and snug it up pretty good. Okay, there's with our driver, and we're going to take a 5/32 Allen wrench, and we're going to give this sucker a good snug, make sure it doesn't come loose. Our rifle's fully assembled, and now the only thing left to do is to find the null point on this barrel. Okay, so I've got the rifle and my wood dowel, and I'm tapping it, and I can feel the vibrations up until I get to about here. Now I can't feel anything in my hand right here, and then when I start going back toward the receiver away from this point, I can feel the vibrations in my hand again. So I know that my null point now, I've done this with enough rifles, I know that my null point is 4 inches in front of my transition from octagon to round. It's right there, and it's going to be an easy point for me to remember. I don't even need to mark it with tape. On a side note, I wanted to show you guys the packaging that this rifle comes in. Now, most of the filling in here is actually gone. When I was opening this thing, I knew that I should hold on to it to show you guys, because the packaging was just so incredible. The barrel assembly with the forearm gets shipped in this tube, and it's wrapped in bubble wrap inside the tube and that plastic envelope. The forearm, or the receiver and stock assembly come out here, and they're wrapped in just a colossal amount of bubble wrap. The whole package is put together very tightly. I was super impressed by the care they took shipping this thing. Really, the only thing better would be to buy a Pelican case and ship it in that. And they included a new hat. I'm very proud of that. So you're going to start seeing this hat in videos here in the very near future. So that's it for right now, folks. I sure hope you've enjoyed this look at this beautiful new rifle, and we're going to have a lot of fun developing a load for it. We're going to be starting that again real soon. We won't be going to the Quigley this time with a load that's 2 months old and sights that have been on the rifle for 6 weeks. We're going to go there with a full year of work behind us. It's going to be great. We hope to see you guys there. I hope to kick you in the pants and get you moving on your journey to the Quigley too. We'll see you again next time on Recoil Therapy.